Yeah.
So,
Well, what about the theory that it was all mind at one time?
mined by who?
I don't know. But when you look at some of these places, they look like they've been mined.
It's the pre-flood world that would mine them, and then they got messed up. Yeah, because that is another aspect, and I'm interested in.
If you look at some of it looks like it's been mined.
Yeah, it looks like it's been mined. The mountain, whatever. It's just like a mined land that's turned to
Yeah.
stone, and Grand Canyon
Yeah.
has it too. But I also do believe, yeah, it's possible for the Grand Canyon to have been carved by a massive amount of water in a short amount of time. Totally. But the mining aspect, you can't really ignore that.
There's
All
too
that
much of
happened,
it. I mean, it's just so
more
unbelievably
very top of,
exactly the same.
yeah,
I don't know.
more layers got buried on top of that. And
Yeah,
so then,
exactly.
because I do believe, like I said earlier, like I do believe that the pre-flood world had some pretty amazing stuff. I don't know how crazy their mining was, but I mean, if they were going to be master metallurgists teaching all the artificers and whatnot, I would think they had a decent amount of metal. Like they had to get it from somewhere. So I don't know what kind of crazy stuff they had, but I think that the Lord wiped it out for good reasons. Because if we thought our stuff that we have today is crazy, just imagine what they had.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But I mean, like the Bible makes it sound so, it doesn't really give you a lot of information pre-flood, right?
No, because it's not really important. In fact, I think it says that the memory of them would be wiped away. So it almost is, except for the fact that we find their crap all over the place.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff I think from before the pre-flood world, like it's all wrecked in such a fashion that, like it all would have gotten covered in some sort of debris or silt or sand or mud. Some composition of some of the mud got kicked up, some of the dust and all the dirt got kicked up, and it made like a layer, like a patina, right? And then it's also at the bottom of the ocean pretty much for almost a whole year. And so that's an immense amount of pressure, and you have crustaceans all walking up on it probably at the ocean depths. I don't know, just tons of stuff. All the whatever fishes that are still alive be pooping on it. I don't know. Just you have all sorts of processes going on. So like I'm pretty sure like after all the water drains off, any dry place left after the floodwaters drain off, like it might just go ahead and turn to rock. And if it turns to rock, well, now you have all the pre-flood stuff is just encased in rock. So you see a mountain, a rock, whereas I see like, there could be something underneath there. Because if the world was mostly flat, like not, you know what I'm saying, not like actually flat, but like if it was mostly flat surface to begin with, well then, if you only had very small mountains and hills before the pre-flood, and now they're all much higher. Because I'm sure you've seen the other parts of the documentary where it shows some of the mountains that they look like they're waste piles from like tailings from mining.
Yeah.
And those are, yeah, those are really crazy looking. It's like, wow, that does look like a waste pile. Like,
Yeah.
wow, like that's nuts.
Did you watch that? I'm sure you have, because you seem to have seen everything.
I'm seeing everything. Yeah,
there are no forests on flat Earth.
yeah, totally. The big trees, I do believe that there were huge trees. However, I'm not so sure that there were trees that were quite that huge. Like it is compelling, very compelling arguments, but I do have to ask for like the one where they say Devil's Tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
They almost had me for a second, and I was like, wait a minute.
Well,
So
what about that scripture that
giant,
says
that was a giant tree. Like all
what
I
about
have to really ask is like, where the rest of it?
what about that scripture that talks about
Oh,
that?
well, the scripture that talks about the tree that can be seen from the entire earth. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar's. That's Daniel's dream about Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
About the fact that he's about to be cut down. Nebuchadnezzar is the tree.
No, yeah, I know, but
It's a metaphor.
it's kind of interesting,
Yeah, it is interesting that there's a tree that everybody can see from the like that. That is like a world tree, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a bunch of animes that have world trees in them too, and like all sorts of other stuff that talk about world tree. So
A
maybe
show always.
once upon a time, a couple trees that were like ginormous. Like it's possible. I'm not gonna say it's not impossible. So it's possible. I'm just saying, like if Devil's Tower was actually a tree, where the rest of it? You show me where the rest of it is. Like,
Well, how
down.
would you know? I mean,
It says somebody must have cut this down. What do you expect it to be, like a 500 trillion foot tall giant?
well, there
No,
were
it's like
giants.
the flood could have cut it down, but it wouldn't have sawed it off at such a nice angle like that. Like, psh. It's like, no, it's
I thought it was
there's
a
a
pretty
number of things
interesting
that
video.
could be, like you ever see like what a lightning strike does to the ground? It can produce those protrusions from the ground. Have you ever seen those? I forget what they're called, but there's a lightning strike can hit the ground and it can cause the ground to come up and form like these plume things. Stuff like that. But just imagine the flood. Like you would have ginormous ones going off. Just the same, like, you could have underwater whirlwinds making little tornadoes. And it's like, oh, we don't know how this could be formed. It's like, well, what if it was underwater and it was a massive whirlwind? That's one way you can just drill this giant hole right here. Like, all these phenomenons happen. They're just like they're on such a massive scale you wouldn't see it unless you were paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen places they look just like the bottom of the ocean with the sand and all the way the dunes are shaped and all that. Like, looks exactly the same, except it's like 100 times bigger. So yeah, I'm just saying if you can show me the rest of the tree, I'd be totally down to believe it. But if the rest of the tree is gone, you have to be like, all right, what? So is this a tree that got chopped down before the flood and they used it to build the ark? I mean, like, what's going on here? Because that's a lot of wood.
Maybe that's what he used to build the ark.
Is that why we have the Avatar movie with all these crazy things?
That's what I was going to say. That was one of my favorite movies. Avatar.
Yeah, dude, that was an awesome movie. I love that movie. It was great. But James Cameron always makes the best movies, right? I don't know. I like Titanic as well.
Yeah, not me.
You didn't
Like,
like
when is
Titanic?
this thing going to sink? Like, I'm really bored.
That's funny.
Well, they just ruined the movie with too many stories that weren't true.
Yeah, that's true. They did have a whole bunch of stuff that
I mean,
was.
it got ridiculous.
Well, that's what we love to do. We just love to be ridiculous. Make up stories. Be like, oh, well, Jesus actually rode in on a Pegasus. That
So how's
somebody.
everybody's week? Stacey, how was your week?
Oh, we already went over that, but go ahead.
Did you? Okay. Never mind.
See, you want to change the topic? That's fine though. Like, go ahead, change it to whatever you want. You are the commander.
Stacey, how was your week?
Oh, it was fine. Fine.
That's it? Nothing exciting?
No, not really.
No.
No.
Matthew, your week?
Very, very, very busy. I wake up at 5:30 every day. I've been working with my guys because we're too backlogged. And I get home at basically maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30. Then I have to do paperwork. So, but I'm not complaining because it could be the other way. It could be very slow.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I call it the Trump economy.
Do you?
It wouldn't be this way if Hillary won.
Oh, no, that's true. Our city just announced a $6.5 billion plant going in with 1,000 full-time jobs when it's built. And apparently they're announcing another gas plant going in. Just what we need.
Yes, because we love gas. We need to use all the fossils so that
we don't have to send it to states to get it done.
Then we can all agree that
So we'll be taking your jobs.
Right, because if we burn all the fossils, then we don't need to worry about dinosaurs anymore, and then we can get rid of this stupid evolution theory, right? So let's burn all the fossils. Just kidding.
My week.
I can call them fossil fuels. It's like I put some crustaceans in my gas tank earlier.
I'm with you, Albert. There's no fossil fuels.
Yeah, it's just
there were no dinosaurs.
Yeah,
come on now.
No, they're
I
really
sit on a fence with that.
There's no dinosaurs not like you think. There were dinosaurs, but not like you think. So when they're saying like it's this big thing that lived 65 million years ago and they were by comet, that's wrong. However, if you look at Jackson's chameleon, you will immediately recognize that as a mini Triceratops. So we still have Triceratops today, still alive. You can call it a dinosaur if you want, but it's just a chameleon.
Yeah, but you're working backwards because you can say that looks like a Triceratops, but what if a Triceratops never existed? And they made a Triceratops look like that little chameleon.
Well, but here's the thing. Reptiles, I don't know if you know, this is biology, maybe Stacy knows, right?
Keep growing.
But reptiles never stop growing throughout their lifespans.
Yeah,
So
I heard that.
if you have a 500-600-year-old chameleon, that would be a Triceratops. Because it never stops growing, but only for reptiles. That's why dinosaurs are mostly reptiles, because of that rule. Stacy, what do you say? Am I full of crap, or is that a real thing?
Reptiles do die of old age, though. They have lifespans, so they wouldn't grow.
Yeah, but they never
We
stop.
don't see 60-foot crocodiles.
But dude, like you see Gustav, right? Gustav, the alligator or crocodile, like that dude is huge. He's like the same. He's like triple the size of a normal croc or whatever.
Pretty much the only eternal being on the earth is a jellyfish.
Yeah, I wasn't saying eternal beings. I'm just saying, like, come on, like the older you can live, and reptiles, the older they live, the bigger they get, and they never stop getting bigger.
So why don't they have full?
But they do die.
Why don't they have full skeletons or actual fossils?
Exactly.
They don't.
Well, because I can tell you exactly why they don't have full skeletons. I mean, the answer is obvious. The flood. I don't know if you've ever seen a flood with a bunch of dead stuff floating in it, but what happens is, since there's nowhere for it to settle out on the sun and dry out, like, yeah, it's going to float, bloat, and blow up and sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, but the flood would have buried a lot of animals.
Oh yeah. Everybody who got caught off guard would have totally been buried.
Right, but they would have buried them in one piece. Then they would have decayed, and then there would have been a whole bunch of bones in one spot from one animal, and you never see that.
Yes. But see, okay, so yeah, this is most of the graveyards that I know of that are dinosaur graveyards, animal, whatever. They have all sorts of animals in them, and what happened is it was a big sloshing whirlpool. Like, just imagine like billions of dead things in a giant whirlpool, right? And then all of that got deposited at the same time. So yeah, all of the skeletons are all discombobulated. All, so like.
Oh, you're talking about something that's dead before the flood. I'm talking about something that died in the flood. There's a huge difference.
Well, yeah, there are things that got buried completely, wholly, and those we don't find many of those because they're down there.
You should.
But they're really far down though. Like, those are the people who failed. Like, those are the animals that failed. They did not escape the flood in any way, shape, or form. They got buried by it. At least the ones who are floating and then get deposited later, they escaped temporarily. But the ones you're talking about, they were the unfortunate souls who died immediately in the flood. They got buried immediately, almost in whole, and so they would be very far down. Very far down in most places, I think.
All I'm saying.
So they're there. They're there. They're just.
When you go to, all I'm saying is, when you go to a museum and you look at the dinosaurs, you're looking at a big Plasticraft project on every one of them.
Yep.
Those bones are not real. All the real bones, quote unquote, are in a museum somewhere, like in some secret drawers in the basement or something. But yeah,
no one has ever seen for what.
No one. If you go to the museum, you're definitely not looking at real bones. 100%. Those are casts.
So where's the proof? Where's the real dinosaur bone? Anatomically, those animals would have not held up.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if there really was a creature for real who was the T-Rex, if that is a true statement, I don't think it is really because it's too big. But if there really was one, it would be nothing more than a pre-flood anole or some sort of other lizard, right? Because I don't know if you've looked at any lizards lately, but a lot of lizards, they have very large back legs and not so big front legs. So it's not a big mystery as to why T-Rex. It's like, no, he wasn't walking on 2 legs. He was walking on 4. Or he was fake. So, you can pick.
Yeah, but they got his upper arms about 2 feet long. 2 feet long.
Yeah, but if you put him down on all four, then it's fine. It's because
it
that's how
wouldn't be
all
freaking.
lizards are.
He'd
Their
crush
arms
his
really
front
are
legs.
dinky.
Yeah, he'd be scraping his face on the ground.
No, but that's the thing. If you look at any look at them, you'll see that their front ones are definitely way smaller than their back ones.
Right. So how?
So the only lizard that I know that was capable of walking on those big back legs like that, it was for split seconds, and it's only because they're very tiny, and it's because they're the Jesus Christ lizard, and they can walk on water. But that's only because they're running extremely fast over the top of it, and they have webbed feet. But yeah, that's only that one lizard, and I'm not saying that's a T-Rex, but that would be funny if it was, right? But nonetheless, a big version of that, I don't think it's going to be able to walk on water anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they got that big. So yeah, I think they're a little off on their scale, but I don't know. How big was the T-Rex? Is it bigger than my house, 20 feet tall? I don't think so. But that's what they'll show you in the museum, right? They'll show you this giant, they'll be like, oh my gosh, look at that man-eating lizard. Ah, but dinosaur means terrible lizard. And that's it. All I'm telling you that they are. They're just lizards. Just pick a lizard, and there you go. You got a dinosaur.
Yeah, but I think they created the dinosaur from the appearance of the lizard.
Yeah, they probably did. I mean, they have to prove their evolution theory somehow.
Exactly.
And so why wouldn't they make it up?
I mean, that's the reason they say we live in a ball, because it's part of the Big Bang.
Same difference. You need that narrative. If you don't have that narrative, you lose. Only the smart people can figure that out. It's like if you don't have these things, your whole thing falls apart. Like you're like dominoes. You're so easy to knock over. But I do believe that there are some that dinosaurs, quote unquote, they might not be real in the form that they were presented, but they're just chameleons. They're just big lizards. But there's not many of them. Like, how many lizards do you know of? But no, if you look at a Jackson's chameleon, you look at a Triceratops, you're gonna be like, yeah, same thing. One's just way bigger, and if you've ever played the game Spore, you'll know what I'm talking about because you can use little levers to evolve your creature and make its protrusions, make more older, pronounced. There's little levers.
Do you also believe that the birds are direct ancestors of the dinosaurs?
Absolutely not. Birds are their own creatures. God created birds separately. They have nothing to do with lizards, which are reptiles.
That's what the paleontologists said.
Reptiles would be creeping things, right? They would be created with all the insects and whatever day they were created.
But the same paleontologists that tell us dinosaurs existed tell us birds are ancestors.
Well, they would have to do. I mean, they have to. They're like, ooh, they did. I don't know. I don't even know how they came up with birds are reptiles. Once upon, but whatever. I suppose. I mean, I see that my bird that I have down. I have an Amazon. We had other birds. But anyway, you can see their feet, and yeah, their feet look kind of reptilian-like skin. But really, if that's all you got, you're just being ridiculous. And I'm pretty sure that's all they have, right? That's they don't really have anything else. They're like, well, it looks like reptile skin. But it's not actually reptiles. It's bird skin. Like the Bible says, there are different fleshes for all things, right? Different fleshes. So would any of you eat a whale shark?
Whale shark?
No.
You wouldn't eat a whale shark? Why not? It's just a really big fish. We could feed the entire town off this fish. Why wouldn't you eat it? Because it's not for eating. Like the birds. You don't eat the birds, you don't eat the lizards. You can eat the chicken, but that's about it, right? Duck, turkey. You think people were eating dodo birds? Maybe that's why they're not around anymore?
That's exactly why they weren't around anymore.
I think that there's still dodo birds somewhere in the world, and people are just being dodos. I don't think you can exterminate a species. Not. Let me correct myself. I didn't mean to say species. I don't think you can eliminate a kind. You can eliminate a species, 100%. You know, like if I breed like a red scorpion for the first time, and then I immediately stab it with a knife, like guess what I just did? I just extinctified the red species, right? But the kind scorpion is still there, right? So like you can't get rid of the kinds. So there's so many kinds on the earth. But I think a dodo bird is nothing more than a mixture of two of the birds that we have right now, or it's like they're out there somewhere and you just can't find them because you're not looking. Like they make it sound like when they tell you these things in school, they make it sound like they know everything about the entire world. They're like, oh yeah, we know the exact number of every single bird on every single continent, all the population. Like that's what they make it sound like to me. They make it sound like they know everything. Like when clearly there's no way you can possibly track all this. Like that's crazy. But they'll be like, oh no, we know. Like there's only like 512 peregrines left. Like, how do you know that there's only 500? You don't know that. Like maybe there's 512 where you were looking, but I don't know. I just don't buy half the stuff the world tells me anymore.
So where's everybody tonight?
Benoni. What's that?
Where's everybody tonight? Where's Rob?
Rob went to the grocery store. He'll be back. Maybe. Who else is there? What do you mean? Who else? Like there is nobody else.
Zachary.
Oh well, Zach doesn't count. He never comes.
Yeah, he does.
Crap, he's gonna hear that. I love you, Zach.
What about Bible Scribe? Have you been able to?
No, I don't. I did invite Bible Scribe, but I don't believe he was ever trying to come on to the voice chat. Maybe he will one day, but I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that he would be down for that. But he's at least down to talk in the in the Discord. So that's pretty weird. Like I appreciate his opinions and his ideas. Like that's why I invited him. I would love it if he joined, but I can't force him. I can't strong arm him.
We haven't heard from what's his name? The guy who's also from Canada. What was his name?
Or Trucker, he was on the other day.
Oh no. I can't think of his name. He's from Canada. He makes videos. I forgot his Joel.
Oh, Joel Sexton?
Yeah.
Haven't heard that name in a long time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he quit like our group. Like he went in a different direction. He kind of went off into left field.
He went the way of Armand.
He ping pongs too much. I don't know. Yeah, he did go the way of Armand as well. Armand. Unfortunate, but whatever, it happens. Maybe one day they'll come back, like some other people did. You never know. Surprising, Lou Bell. See, she came back. That as a win.
I'm thinking of leaving again, Albert.
But that's only like if I quit, will you stay? Can we make a deal?
Man, is this chick a good hairdresser? Holy frick.
Can you do my
Some
hair?
people are talented.
I didn't feel very comfortable after Armin made a couple of comments. I think everybody was there
What'd he say?
about my situation.
What's your situation?
Well, I left my ex
Oh, right. Yeah.
2004, and
Yeah.
now my girl and I don't plan on getting married, but we are married.
Hmm.
I mean, we're together forever.
Well, you know what the scary part is? Sometimes when you judge the most is when you're going to walk the same road. My mother always said,
Ironic.
honey, never brag about your kids because they'll be doing something what you said they weren't the next day.
It's very true.
Yeah.
That's because you speak it into existence. You should watch what you say. Your words actually do have some. You ever seen like vibrations break a glass? Like, come on now.
But it wasn't long. It wasn't long after Armin made the comment, and his comment was something like, "I wouldn't be at peace." He was saying that about himself if he was in my situation,
Uh-huh.
and it had huge connotations. But
He also said he wouldn't be at peace if he didn't tell you about it because he felt that it was an obligation for him to tell you about it.
right,
But he did talk with me, and he was very concerned about how you took it because he didn't want you to take it negatively.
well, that was good. That was good. But it was ironic how shortly after that, he admitted that he was having huge faith issues. And he
Yeah,
had those before.
right. So now he's
So,
going to give you advice right before he crumbles to pieces.
yeah, I mean, we all go through things,
Oh,
that aren't
absolutely.
particularly holy. But I've never had faith issues from the time I got saved. There has never been the least little inkling of doubt ever, even through my tough
Doubt of what? Doubt of what exactly?
doubt of God.
That God is real? You mean?
That God is real, that Jesus Christ is the Savior, that the Bible is true. No, I've never had any doubt
Hmm.
at all.
Oh, that's just so funny that you guys are right. That God is real. I always found that funny. God is real. That's funny.
Well, I've had, I wouldn't call them faith issues, but I had a chat with him last night, and just like my prayer life is in the toilet, you know, and I still read the word, but of course, when you're not in prayer, I don't get near as much out of the word as I should be.
What do you mean by prayer? Like, you mean you go into like a special like place and you're like, you just like talk to him? Like, you can talk to him, willy nilly when you're driving a car.
I know that. I know that. I'm talking about my intimate time with God. I'm not talking about when I'm driving down the road, and I'm not
Okay.
talking like that. But for me, I literally have to go into my room, get on my face, because I get so distracted. If I'm sitting in a chair or whatever, I have to like hide my eyes, if that makes any sense, and focus on him. And you know what it's like? I liken it to this. You're on the phone with somebody, but they're on their computer. And you can always tell. You know what I
So
mean?
funny.
God
Matthew
knows
just said he hated that earlier. Like, he
God
can't
knows I'm
stand
on my
being
computer.
on the computer
know?
talking to somebody on the phone. Right?
He knows I'm on my computer, but I'm still trying to talk to him. So that's why I need to
No,
have
it
that.
is very distracting trying to do two things at the same time. And usually the
Yeah.
person talking to you on the phone is not helping you with your mission on the computer.
I can do that with most people, but I cannot do that with Albert. He'll catch me and call me out right away.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I
will do that.
like, but I wouldn't call it faith issues, Matthew. But I'm not recognizing what it is. And I've been asking God, okay, like, why is it? Why am I ignoring you? Why am I not? Why am I not being real?
I don't look at it that way. For me, I don't. I've never had this type of close the door and have intimate time with God thing. I have never had that.
Really?
No, and I don't think for me. I could only speak for me.
Hmm.
it's never been necessary for me. I've always been the type that talks to God during the day while I'm out and about.
I do that as well, but I still need to. I feel like I need at least 15 minutes just
Why do you feel?
in him.
Why? Why do you feel that way?
I
That you
don't
need?
know. That's the only way. Like that's the only way I can start my day.
Right. I
You
mean,
know?
that's why I say for me, like everybody
Yeah.
should know what they need.
And I know that because I feel satisfied. I feel at peace. I feel joy. I get up as a totally different person, right?
Right.
But I have been avoiding it. I've been avoiding talking to him.
But you should never feel guilty because like I think maybe one of the reasons why I don't need that is because I know that I don't have to feel guilty if I don't do that. Like that's what they tell you in church, the devotionals, and then how they teach you in church when you have to have your devotional Bible time, and then
No, I never had that.
people
No,
start reading the Bible like it's a devotional instead of like it's God's word. I
no,
mean,
I don't read the word at that time at all. I don't even touch the Bible. This is just like 15 minutes of, you know what, Lord, I need to dump all this stuff on you. Um, just saying thank you for helping me through my day,
mm,
working through me, for my clients, that kind of thing, right? And I can see a difference in my day. It just changes, you know?
Sure. You don't need to take 15 minutes to do it. You can just do it while you're driving. Like that's
No.
all we're saying. I think. Like you don't need to like.
Oh, I do.
You
I do.
can. You can. I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat, right?
It floats my
He
boat.
works with you in whatever way you're willing to work, right? So.
I
Yeah.
always I love it where I don't really ask God for a lot of things, but I've been excessively stressed out about trying to get the workload that I have done in time not to, make clients angry.
Yeah.
And so I ask God like and I get like I'm a worry wart because I don't like making people unhappy, especially
Hmm.
clients.
Hmm.
So I asked God like and I was excessively worried about it. I was, God, please help me just stop worrying about it. It is, I got to take one day at a time. I got to just, get the work done that I can get done and be as efficient as possible. But help me to stop worrying about it. And then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. Jesus said, "Don't worry,"
Exactly.
and I have to just obey Christ in that and not worry. And then, like the same day, one client that I'm working for says, "Oh, by the way, uh, we're going away in a few days, and we will be gone for 2 weeks, and we don't really want work being done on the house while we're gone." And I'm like, "Yes, that's perfect." I didn't say that to them, but it's like I was relieved of one job for 2 weeks. Okay, now you can go somewhere else, and it was just
Right.
thank you, God. I knew that was like an answer to prayer.
Totally perfect. Yeah.
But
Like
see, that's what I do every morning. Like I bring all my worries to him, right? And I just dump them at his feet, you know?
yeah.
And how can if I haven't shared that with him, how can I expect him or to trust that he's going to take care of it?
Well,
I'll
that's
give you an
true.
example.
Yeah.
I
If you don't mention it, then it's probably not going to get. It's just like if you didn't
well,
tell me to take the trash out, like I'm probably not going to do it.
so like I'll just give you an example. This girl comes in and she's got fire engine orange, red, blonde hair, and it's just she had done it herself. It was hideous, long hair, and it's very, what do you call it? Like I'm a perfectionist. And so I have to use like three different colors. I have to bleach it, then I have to use a one color to fill it, and then I have to use another color to tone it, and then I have to use another deposit color, and so on and so on and so on. But I have to use three different tones because her hair is three different colors. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Anyway, at the end of it, I'm finished. She's in my chair. This is called a color correction. She's in my chair, and I'm I'm looking at it, and it wasn't just perfect. So I said, "Do you have 20 minutes?" I said, "I want to just work on this a little bit more." "Yeah, no problem. Go ahead." So, but the hairdresser next to me, or the girl next to me, says, "It looks fine. Just leave it. Leave it. It looks good." I said, "No, it doesn't."
Cool.
So I go back in the room and I'm like, "Lord, help me. I need you to help me." And so I mixed up this color and I'm standing there and this thought comes to me, put a drop of copper in, you know? And this happens to me all the time when I ask God. I'm standing there working and Lord help me. I don't know what to do here. And so I put this just one drop of copper in and it just was perfect. And so
Nice.
then the girl in the chair goes, "Thank you for not just leaving it." Right?
See, that's the reward that comes. You're like, see,
But
she was like,
I
good job.
noticed it and the girl noticed it, but the other girl never noticed it. She
Well,
said,
see,
"It's
some
fine."
people, not everybody is going to see eye to eye. Right? So there's some people in the world who are supposed to be like that, right? Like I don't know, they're kind of the equivalent if you played video games like NPCs. You need them. They're non-playable characters. I don't know. They're just characters
It
that are
just,
needed in the
I
world.
mean, that's my daily talking to God, right? But
Yeah,
my morning devotion time, or not, I don't call it devotion. It's just my little chat with him.
I don't
And
even.
that's what totally sets the tone for my day. But I can feel something kind of hindering me, but I just can't put my finger on it. And I don't know whether it has something to do with this open theism. I don't know whether it has something to do, you know what I mean? Because that's been really
It's your fault,
cranking in my
Matthew.
brain, right?
You crossed too many wires. She's short-circuiting.
Oh, frick, no kidding. Like, Matthew, did any of that affect you when you kind of started seeing open theism in a different light?
Oh no, that's. I started seeing open theism in the first place. That's when I was like, yes, Matthew, you can join, like, because it's kind of weird how he joined. I invited somebody else, and then he was like, hey, I'll join. I was like, all right, I'll take you. I pick you, Pikachu. And then he electrified my brain and toasted it. I was like, wait, you think? Oh my gosh, like that's why I always want him to be here because he's always got that different way of looking at things. He's got that extra other perspective, and I like that because usually I agree with it.
As
Well,
long as
I like it. I like to be challenged for sure. But how did it affect you, Matthew, when you first started seeing it that way?
how it didn't really affect my relationship to God that much at all. If anything, it really didn't. It just changed the way that I view God because I viewed Him as giving us freedom, but I just thought that He had foreknowledge. So to take the foreknowledge part away, it just made God more logical to me. Like, okay, if He's going to give you freedom, then how in the world could even God know what a free person's going to do? So that's all it did. It didn't really change
Mm-hmm.
how I relate to God.
Mm-hmm. I think you know what it is with me. I think it might be that I'm sitting on a fence, and I don't know which way I'm falling here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I've just kind of left it alone for a little while, and hopefully I can come back to it with a fresh view.
I will say this: it does. Maybe in a small way, I do relationally have a difference now with God because I definitely view Him as more um, personal, more involved.
I see that. I see that. I see that. Yeah.
Not
I'm
aloof.
just not sure if I quite believe it yet. That's all. Because there's just questions that I have, like there's a few scriptures that kind of,
Is there a question that I could possibly answer?
I don't know.
Well, ask it.
That scripture
I
about,
won't know unless you ask the question. You said you had some questions. I was just wondering what they were.
well, no, it's questions about what that one scripture,
I might be able to answer it.
about being formed in the mother's womb. No, what is it? No, it's not that one. It's
Oh,
Matthew, you know what it is. Everybody probably brings it up.
What about you were known beforehand? Like,
Yeah. I think that's it. What scripture is that?
I knew. Is it Jeremiah? I think it's pertaining to Jeremiah, right?
I think it might be.
It's Jeremiah.
But that's
Or
if it's from Jeremiah, then we're definitely going to have to read a couple verses beforehand to see who he's talking to.
But you already answered your own question. It's Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah was.
So you don't think?
Jeremiah before, because he's a prophet. He's like, he's a prophet.
so he takes audience relevance and he narrows it down to just Jeremiah, versus this is a trend that God is showing that, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you, because before anyone is in their mother's womb, I knew them. So it's really how you either narrow or expand the audience relevance.
Right.
And that's just that one scripture, but there's other scriptures that people will say, well, he was only talking to the apostles here. And Israel only even does the audience relevance and say, well, that was only for them.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible doesn't pertain to us. So really, you have a little scale that you either narrow it or expand it, however.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all you can say really is that scripture doesn't have to mean.
You can say that it applies to Jeremiah, but you can't say it only applies to Jeremiah, or that you can't say it applies to everyone.
Right. So now you're going to go to other scriptures. Right. Now and see how it lines up. That's not a watershed.
Totally. It's totally possible that when it says like I knew you before, like it's possible that it was more than one person that like could have the same thing happen. But in the context of that scripture, particularly, it's only dealing with Jeremiah, and therefore you really have to watch yourself. That's all.
So he knew, so did he choose like the prophets and the apostles before the foundation of the world?
Well, I know that there's a verse that says, I have chosen you, and it's about Zerubbabel, I believe. Like, you are the signet ring, like, or whatever, not even, but he said he had chosen him.
Christ said, did I not choose you all, the 12? And yet one of you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I chose you all the 12. Yet
What
one of
scripture
you,
is that, Stacy?
it says, yet one of you is a devil. Ooh, burn.
It's I think it's in Matthew.
Yeah, most likely.
Matthew would say that.
Fine.
Just kidding. Matthew of the scriptures, not Matthew.
There's Rob. He came back from grocery shopping. What'd you buy, Rob?
I let my son do all the grocery shopping.
Well, Twinkies don't count.
I didn't buy any Twinkies. I'm on the Bible study.
Luke 6:13 says, and when day came, he called his disciples and chose from them 12, whom he named apostles. You know what? I don't think I've ever read that scripture before.
There you go.
There you go. 12, but one of them was a devil. Woo.
See, there's two ways that, like God, if it says that he chose the apostles, then that doesn't necessarily mean to me that John was conceived for the purpose of being an apostle, or you know what I mean? Like Jesus could have taken all of these people that were believing in him and then said to 12 of them, follow me. And very possibly have chosen somebody else out of all those believers. But when he says to Jeremiah, I knew you in the womb or before, that I take it like that Jeremiah was conceived to be a prophet. It could be,
it always in the plan for Jeremiah to be a prophet. Like no matter, just like Pharaoh was always going to like for the whole thing. Like he was always going to be that guy.
But then you've also got where prophecy. It's easy to say, well, if this nation is going to be toppled by that nation, that God will do those things because he's involved in the grand movement of things and scales, but on the little movement, he's not. But then when Jesus does the simple little prophecy of you will deny me 3 times before the rooster crows,
Mhm.
that's, very simple. That's not grandiose like on a national status. So either you have to say, well, God is concerned with the little things, but not all the little things, or you really can't just like limit and say, well, God doesn't know about every rooster crowing, but oh, that case, he made that rooster crow.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
I don't
reading
think.
that, and that one kind of got me.
Yeah, I don't really think the rooster has to be like, they will do as they are programmed to do. And so, like, he doesn't need to know when each of them are going to go off. However, on the flip side, he could also somehow know if they would.
I was
But
thinking of this also is as far as omniscience is concerned, even if the future doesn't exist, but you are omniscient. In other words, you know everything that is within the now. So if you have a pool table and you have balls there, and you went and you go and you strike the cue ball, and you know the weight of every ball, you know the atmospheric pressure in the room, you know the friction of the felt that's on the table, you know what force, what position that you strike that ball, and you even know the temperature of the room. So you know every single variable. You would, I believe, be able to predict exactly where every ball lands, would you not? If
Yes.
you knew every single variable.
Hmm.
So when
it's
we say something random happens, that's because we don't know those variables.
But you're comparing pool balls to human beings that have a brain that could choose something. If they do have a free will, then they can choose to do something that
Okay,
is
so
not set from a trajectory on a cube from a cue ball. You know what I mean?
right, but then you actually will have to say you're partial open theism, but and what you'll have to also say is that God caused Peter to deny him.
Yeah. That thing where Peter is said to, he may have denied Jesus a lot more than 3 times. And it's just not recorded down. Like, I just think that was like when you say to someone, like, I got this kid who's always late. And I, Peter, you're gonna come on time tomorrow. Yes, Matt, I'm gonna come on time tomorrow. And I'm like, you're not gonna come on time.
Yeah, but yet
What's
earlier in the gospel, he says that you are Christ, the Son of God. He's the one, he's the first of the apostles to actually mention it.
right?
Okay, so like when I read that, a lot of times I read it like it was dawn coming and the cock is going to crow. You
Right.
know what I mean?
So,
I mean, it's inevitable that the
forget,
cock's going to crow.
forget
Huh?
about the rooster. Focus on the denial of Peter.
Well, he told them they were all going to fall away, didn't he?
So
Yeah.
did God make that happen?
no, he just told them, he planted the seed, if you will, that they would all fall away, and then they did.
No, I actually think that God made them fall away because they were you had the blindness that Isaiah had prophesied, the spirit of stupor, and then you had Christ removing it from the apostles in order so that Peter could say, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." But then you had to have even the apostles fall away, I think, so that Jesus could be um, the sole person from Israel to be left. Like, I really think that all all of Israel had to deny him so that he could fulfill this mission of being the Israel of God, being the faithful one,
The only faithful one.
the only faithful one. And then, but then, because they were the apostles and they were chosen for a mission, they would have to be restored.
Was the thief on the cross not Jewish?
No, he was. I'm sure he was Jewish.
Well, he wasn't blinded at that moment, was he?
No, no. I mean, he believed. A lot of the people believed before they, before they saw Christ.
But the reason that
But
Peter
Peter and them believed until after too.
Peter was called Satan. He said, "Get behind me, Satan." He said that because it came push to shove. Basically, you're right. Jesus was about to go die on the cross, and Peter was like, "Oh wait, what? You're gonna do what now? Like, nah, like, stay with me, right?" And then that's when Jesus was like, "Get behind me, Satan," because obviously you're my adversary now. Because it's like, didn't you read the scripture? Like, don't you know that I have to die according to this whole thing? Like,
Like
you just
that's
point.
Stacy. You bring up a good point with the thief on the cross, the one who believed at least,
Mm-hmm.
but because it could definitely debunk my theory that Jesus had to be like the last faithful one in Israel. But at the same time,
Even the women were there at the cross.
yeah, at the same time, I also believe that things are happening there, like very thematic, like like especially with the thieves on the cross. I've said this before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, and I don't know whether or not you should take that account as historical or as metaphor,
Which account? Which
point of
account?
analogy. The conversations that were going on the cross.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
I yeah, I don't really know whether or not I should take those as historical. Yes, he said these exact words, and then he said those exact words, and this was the conversation that we're having there on the cross.
I don't know. I mean,
One thing I do know is that when you were hung up on a cross, your the way that you ended up dying was through suffocation.
right,
So
yeah,
speaking would have been very difficult. So I think that the conversation itself is just a point to a theme, and I agree with you on there. You had one on either side, and I bet you, it doesn't say, I don't think, but I bet you the thief that believed was on his right side, and the thief that cursed him was on his left side.
yeah. Well, I've brought this up before. I don't think Lori has ever heard it. You might find it interesting, but the the I think what the conversation that's going on there is very purposeful and has a very, very deep meaning. And I think the whole cross itself, with the thieves on the side, is a reenactment of the initial Abrahamic covenant. I don't know, Lori, have you ever heard me? Because
No, I haven't heard that.
I don't want to repeat it. If
I need to hear that again about the Abrahamic covenant being.
Well, I had asked God, and these are another thing. I pray. A lot of times I just pray to God to show me what the Bible means. And I was praying to God.
Wait, stop before you do. I did that exact same thing. I said, Lord, I do not understand the book of Revelation. Can you please explain it to me? And I became a full preterist about a month or two later. So I just throw that in there that you need to start looking more deeply into that because God showed me.
Which God? No, just kidding. All right, so I asked God to show me why there was three people hanging there on the cross, or two others with Christ. And he immediately brought my thought to the Abrahamic covenant, where Abraham severs the animals, places them on the side. He falls asleep, and then the smoking fire pot goes through the middle. So I immediately thought, well, wait a minute now. If Abraham was told that he's going to be the father of many nations, but then God uses Abraham to, like he's the progenitor of Israel now, physical Israel, but Israel's going to bring the Messiah, who would ultimately bring in the new covenant, which brings in the nations. So now Jesus must be the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. So that got me thinking, like, okay, so now in the initial Abrahamic covenant, it says in the King James, a horror of darkness covered everything. while the smoking fire pot went through the midst of the two severed pieces of flesh. Then I thought of the cross. And at the cross, everything becomes dark, just like at the Abrahamic covenant. So then Romans 8 says that Jesus Christ had become a minister to the circumcision to confirm the promises made to the fathers. So the promise made to the father is to Abraham that he would become the father of many nations. Abraham represents God the Father, so God becomes the father of many nations as opposed to just one nation called Israel. So now you have the correlation of the initial Abrahamic covenant, and then you have Jesus confirming that promise on the cross. And now he, instead of a smoking fire pot in the midst of this horror of darkness, in between two severed pieces of animals, you have Christ himself, God manifest in the flesh, in the midst of two men. And the men, it's God reconciling the world to himself, which is removing the middle wall of partition, the law, so that Jew and Gentile could become one new man in Christ. So the two thieves on the cross represent Jew and Gentile, and one mocks him and says, "If you are the Christ, save yourself and us." And the other one says, "Don't you fear God, even when you're dying." So remember, Israel was about to die 40 years later. So he says, "Don't you fear God, even when you're dying." So then he says, "This man has done nothing wrong." So he admits the sinlessness of Christ, and then he says, "But we deserve the punishment that we're receiving." So he admits that all have fallen short of the glory, and then he says, "Jesus, remember me when you enter your kingdom. Remember me, Gentiles, nations." So
That's
I think
interesting.
that whole conversation is there to show that Jesus Christ is fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant, is confirming it rather. It's not fulfilled until Pentecost.
There's also a possibility that the Mosaic law is also bearing witness to the conversation of the cross, because I need to look at it further, but I know that there was a sacrificial law for leprosy in which you had to have two birds, and each one did a different role.
I
But
mean,
also you had the two lambs. One was actually sacrificed without spot or blemish, and the other was cast out of the camp. So if you look at Christ as being the spirit, that the sacrifices are being brought to, and then you have the one man who believed, and it was accounted to him as righteousness. So when God said, "Today you will be with me in paradise," that means that that man's life was accepted as a sacrifice, whereas the other one was not.
Mm-hmm.
So much stuff in there, eh?
I know, but I just don't know if it was actually a conversation that really took place or not.
but the point that it's in there in the first place, like just the fact that the Bible even's like, oh, let me tell you about this conversation that happened. Like, don't you think that's a little bit, on purpose? Like,
Well, there's a lot of conversations that we can't possibly know ever took place.
yeah, but I mean, like, come on, if
God is
there's like,
talking to Hasatan, and they're all discussing, what's going on with Job. Well, Job didn't know about those conversations or those bets that were being placed upon him. So,
what, Job? What? There's no bets there. What? There's no. It's just some guy who's a sourpuss, and he's just like, oh, well, the only reason Job has all this, and he's just messed up
even
as
so,
well.
listen, it's all right. So it's not God and the devil; it's two men. They're talking
Yeah,
about
it's
Job.
just, that's just
But
yeah.
guess what?
No.
Guess what? Job didn't hear the conversation.
Yes, you're correct.
How did
Job did not hear that conversation.
how did it
However,
wrote in the book?
to say that it was anything other than a man is kind of silly.
Well, it could be Tabi Utubal.
It could be. It could be. But I'm pretty sure, like, all right.
Oh, the Satan was just a man?
Wait,
Or the
no,
devil
no,
that was talking to God?
well, yeah, the adversary in that story, yes, was just a man
I
who was against.
I tripped
And Tabuto Bell is another story of that,
I
which is
tripped over the Satan line and made a bell an alarm.
Tabuto Bell. No, no, we don't have to talk about that. It's fine. I understand.
All I'm saying is there was a conversation taking place, regardless of who it was. Job was not privy to that conversation,
Correct.
but the conversation has merits in the understanding of how the world works.
That's why I was saying, like, clearly, if this statement is in the Bible, it's
Also, there's another
there for a reason. It's not just like, oh,
another
let me just include this.
conversation that we do not know took place, but that is God when he says, "Behold, man has become like us. Let us go down and
Who
corrupt their
does?
language." No one heard that. So how did that get recorded? Did
Who is
God
us?
say
Well,
to
I can
Moses,
tell you.
"Oh, by the way, on this date, this is what I said between myself"?
Now you brought 5 questions up. Now, who is us? You said, let us go down. Like, oh, who is us? Who they? What do you mean, us?
Uh,
I
But
thought God, it was
regardless,
just God, but who is God with?
it's words being spoken that no one are witnesses of.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
So
Nobody witnessed
there
any
are
of this.
multiple conversations in the Bible that there's no way that we would have been privy to. So
Sure,
perhaps
but
these
why us?
conversations are metaphors of trying to explain something.
Well, I agree. It's because I think it was us because there were 2 people there. It was God, the Father, and the Son, Jesus Christ, who all things were created through, by, and for. Right.
So
So let us like because that's exactly what happened. The whole problem was like, okay, well, they went ahead and took the fruit. So now, if we don't stop them right now, like right here, right now, like they're gonna get the fruit over there, and then they're gonna be able to live forever, which would be a bad thing, right? Apparently. Isn't that what the whole story is about? Like, if we would have gotten that, then we could have lived forever. We would have lived forever if we had the fruit and we had the tree of the knowledge. Like, now we're like God. Exactly like the serpent didn't lie. Like, so you see, like, he was telling the truth. What's going on here?
and what about the creation account where the vegetation and everything was created on the third day, and the sun and the moon and the stars were created on the fourth? Yet
Oh, that's a good
there's
one.
no witnesses to that fact. So what did God do after he created Adam on the sixth day? He said, "Oh, by the way, Adam, on the third day I made these green things, and on the fourth day I made these lights up in the sky." We don't have that.
Well, I mean, on what day did he tell Adam, like, by the way, I gave you all the herbs of the earth to eat? Like, I don't know what day. That's not recorded. Like,
But there's a lot of people that take Genesis 1 and
not
2
important.
as completely metaphor. It's not meant to be taking
Well,
historical.
all right, well, okay. But if it's not historical, then what? Like now, where do we stand as Christians? Like, I don't get it. Like, so Noah, he
Well, you
got
don't
into a
have to,
boat, which
you
was
don't
just a
have to
local
believe.
flood,
You
and
don't
like
have to
it
believe
doesn't matter because he could have just moved 75 feet to the left, and he
that.
would have been fine.
That makes it fun because now you think, is there another way to look at this? What way is
Well,
that?
yes,
What
I agree
else
there.
would
Yeah,
I get from
if
that?
you can show me that way, I would love it. But I'm pretty sure I'm the reigning
Some people
champion.
think the gap theory.
No gap. What gap? What gap? Where gap? Where?
You don't have to be a Christian to believe in I mean, you don't have to believe in the 6 day creation to be a Christian.
No.
No, I'm not saying that. That's seeing like you're straw manning me now. What are you doing? I don't even know what you're doing. You're Stacy.
I'm approaching you and attacking you from the side.
You're lighting my backside on fire.
I'm the ninja.
You are a ninja.
Well, I never understood a thing you guys said, actually.
Well, listen to the recording. It's recorded.
I can't.
Like,
You're like, I can't even do that.
what
It'll break me.
Well, one guy talks and the other one speaks over him, and then
That's the name of the game. That's what you said. By the way, I told you that you're the commander for tonight. So all you need to do is just take command and like I'll be quiet. But if you're
Rob,
not,
you do that. Rob, wake up. Robert. No. He's eating dinner.
Orbert.
He's cooking dinner.
Or putting his groceries up.
That's the worst part of grocery shopping, is putting the groceries away.
Well, clearly the Lord wanted him to be distracted for this moment, so I could capital. No, I'm just kidding. So, just kidding. But I will find it funny that you and Matthew both have water in your avatars. Rob's
Absolutely.
background is blue. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I got
So that's the first day. I have the fourth day on mine.
I have
Yeah.
crepuscular rays in mine.
What day were those created? And have you ever seen the reverse crepusculars? Oh my gosh, they're so cool. They go up instead of down.
Do what now? Wait, no. I'm not quite sure I understand what you're meaning reverse.
Oh yeah, there's
Me neither.
reverse crepusculars. They point upwards instead of downwards. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it. You have to show them to me.
You see how like the
Can you
beam that
post
you
that
have
for
there,
me?
look, it's pointing down like a pyramid.
Can you post? I know
Well,
what you're saying. I just haven't seen one.
Crepusculars are cast in such a way where you're standing, it
Can you
looks.
just post one, Albert?
Yeah, post one. Find one for us.
No, I can't because I'm on my phone and I can't do that. You have to go to Google and type in reverse crepuscular. Like it's not that hard.
Okay, you post one.
I don't even know how to spell crepuscular.
Cresp
Crepuscular.
instead of crisp.
CRESPU. Cular. CULAR. Crepuscular. It's okay. Google will correct you. It's fine. But you have to type in like reverse so that it knows that like it's not the normal kind.
That
It's
you
the
want it
opposite.
backwards.
Yeah, whatever the word you want to use. But I'm telling you that there are crepuscular rays which are pointing the opposite direction, and there's like, oh, what
How
about
do you
that?
explain those?
Okay, be quiet for a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me ask. Okay, Google, what is reverse crepuscular rays?
Here are some results from the web.
Yeah, it's not going to tell me. Never mind.
Yeah, no, you have to CRESPUCU. Like you have to type it in. It's not that
I'll
hard.
do it. I'll do it.
Good.
It's
You
all
get plus
done.
50 DKP, and whoever didn't want to do it.
Yeah, there's lots of times where you can see the rays going up and down at the same time.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that, but I've definitely seen up and I've seen down.
Oh, equilateral crepuscular ray?
Yeah, is that when they're coming right at
Oh
you?
yeah, anti-crepuscular rays they're called.
And is that what they're called? Anti-crepuscular.
How the heck does that work?
Well, it's because
Oh, okay, it's not what I was thinking. Okay, yeah, this makes total sense. Still,
it really depends on where you are. Like,
no, this makes total sense.
so you're saying
What do you guys think of the?
I help Arsenal? Did I help your Arsenal?
What do you guys think of the? What's it called? You know how they say they have a fake sun. What's it called?
Oh, you're talking about the fake sun, John.
The
Okay.
Dyson sphere or something? Or no, that's
Well,
a harnessed sun.
when you look up, I don't know what's it called. My mind is blank. Anyway, they say that there's a fake sun in the sky.
Yeah, I know about those guys.
What's it called? There's a name for it.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're saying that there's a fake sun. It's the
Yeah.
sun.
Well,
What do you guys think of that?
I think they're crazy.
The weird guy that's into all the David Icke, I think he's called, or something.
Yeah.
He said that the moon is a hologram, so maybe the fake sun is a hologram.
Well,
yeah. No, the conspiracy behind it is that the light is not producing the amount of light, or is not producing the amount of light that, or whatever.
Again, you can end this whole thing though immediately in your own mind if you just like read the Bible. Like, what does it say? And in the beginning, that's where I've got. In the beginning, it says
Okay,
that God.
I'm telling you. Okay, this is.
Right, God created two lights.
You're not listening, Albert. I know what the Bible says.
Okay, well then there you go. You win.
What I'm saying is,
Can we get that on the Satan topic too?
No, we're not allowed to go there.
Let her finish. Come on.
Well, I'm just thinking Lori win.
Yeah, let her finish.
Yeah. Oh no. That's all made up, Albert.
Go. Keep
Anyway,
going.
I think we should let Rob win on something.
Stop interrupting.
Rob, you win.
Okay, keep going if you can
My
remember.
point is, I'm 56 years old, and when I was a child, everybody, like, because I used to live in the country, right? So there's not much to do except lay in the fields and look up and that kind of thing. Well, I was always a real sun freak, loved the sun. And when we drew a sun, it was a yellow sun, yellow, okay? Today, the sun is not yellow, it's white. Now, why is that? Is it, is a natural phenomenon?
Maybe your eyesight changed when you got older.
Well, and I've thought of that as well, except for when you go online, maybe it's all people that get older, because I'm not the only one that said this. But I've noticed this for years.
See, here's the problem. You say when you go online, so you don't know the age of the people online. So like, maybe the people posting, they're like, oh yeah, I used to remember that shit too. It's like, okay, well yeah.
Okay, Albert, zip it for a minute.
Okay.
I'm the commander here, remember? Okay, so now just looking into it, but every third post is like, you know what? I'm 60 years old. I do not remember a white sun when I was young. I do not remember a white sun when I was young.
Is it maybe? I mean, I have heard. Yeah, go ahead, Stace.
I've not seen a white sun at all. To me, the sun is yellow, and I see it every Friday morning because I have to travel east on Friday mornings.
But I know what Lori means. It seems brighter and brighter. It does seem that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it? They do say that the ozone layer is depleting. Could that be the reason?
I've got maybe I'm Mandela shifted because I remember the sun being a lot lighter in color back then than now. And if you look at old photographs, color photographs, the sky is a different color blue. I do know that.
Absolutely. But I think that can be chemtrails.
That's possible.
But like with the sun, it's because I can look directly at the sun. No problem. I have no problem looking at the sun. And now when I look at the sun, it's just different. It's different. The rays spread out further. It's not near what it used to be. It's just different. And I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think anybody that's over 60 that actually pays attention sees a difference.
But according to
And it's
science,
not a permeating light, it's a cool light.
but according to science, the sun has cycles. And if the sun has cycles, well then you would expect it to behave differently according to cycles.
Could be.
And I think that's really what
I don't have the answers.
You think the sun's freaking out right now and it's gonna like melt all the ice caps and like we're all gonna drown again? Like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Oh, I have no idea.
Explode or something?
But what I'm saying is, it's not all in my head. I know that I'm not making this up in my
No, of course. No, I agree with you. I'm totally in agreement.
It's not.
But here's the thing.
The sun used to be like when the sun came out, it just lit up the earth. Now when the sun comes out, it's like, eh.
Okay, well, when you grew up and you're looking at all these things in your memory, like how many planes do you reckon were in the world?
Probably not.
Because that's probably like half the answer right there. It's like why it looks different is because there's like retarded amounts more planes and stuff, and all sorts of other reasons. But now today it's not as good.
Okay, think about this other conspiracy. I just love conspiracies. I don't believe them, but I'm down. I enjoy them.
I love it. I love a good conspiracy too. So tell me.
Oh, the one about the jet fuel hoax.
Oh, the jet fuel. Okay, go ahead.
I find that interesting.
I don't know if the others know about that one.
You what? What's that?
I said I don't know if the other peeps on here right now know about that one.
Well, I learned about it, I don't know, a couple of years ago or whatever. But they say in one of those Airbus 360s or whatever they're called, that it holds 28,000 gallons of fuel. Okay. And that's 3 tankers, 3 double tankers of fuel. Because each tanker holds 9,000 gallons. Now you tell me where in that plane, because it's supposed to go in the wings, where does that fuel go? Don't tell me it's going in the wings, not that much fuel. It can't be. So what they're saying is that it takes fuel to get off the ground and land, but they're actually using forced air. What's it called? Forced air to run these jets. And that's what they say, that's what is causing what appear to be chemtrails. I don't know how true that is, but
No, that's not true, because the chemtrails they're not consistent. If you look up in the sky, you can see where they start and stop.
yeah. Yeah.
I know if you go to my
I don't believe it is either, the chemtrail part. But
if you go to my Facebook, I
I
have
mean,
many
if you look at the Airbus 360s and just look up jet fuel hoax, it's kind of interesting. Awake Souls, he does a pretty good job on it. I don't know how accurate it is because I never really took the time to.
But the only reason they would do that is to charge you a lot because you think that they're using so much fuel.
Or that could be. I mean, there's probably 100 reasons, right? But is it possible? Because I just don't think that plane holds 28,000 gallons of fuel. I
Well,
can't.
how much does
It says that it
28,000 gallons of fuel weigh?
Oh, I can't even remember. It was a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it's like, so you're telling me that this massive plane is just going to take off with all this liquid, and then you want to have the nerve to just like gas dump that and just like dump it
Well, not
all
even
out?
that. But you
So
look.
that alone is a chemtrail, because if you're going to dump your fuel, that's a chemtrail.
Well, if they showed one like a really poor landing on a Airbus 360, and if there was 28,000 gallons of fuel in that thing,
That would be a big
that fuel
fireball.
would have been sloshing around. There's not a hope in hell.
That would be a fireball like no other.
Absolutely. And you watch these jets blow up, and they just blow up into a fireball for a second. Can I get you to hang on? I gotta.
One hole. Yeah, totally. Watch out for that. Well, clearly she's tied up at the moment. Anybody else can take the floor. You can take the floor, meaning you can talk about whatever you want.
And I was thinking about the jets. If the thing, if the jet is self-propelled once it's in flight, then how on earth would they slow it down? They would have to literally put the brakes on the jet engine.
What do you do? But like power down the fan?
Right. So it seems to me like you would need constant fuel to make that jet do what it's doing.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, because they said they can only fly like such and such plane for like such and such amount of time before like it runs out of fuel.
If you're gonna, and if you're gonna like speed up and slow down, which you can do, how
Yeah,
do you
that
do
messes.
that? Just
That
like
definitely
a car, you feed it fuel, or you
correct.
or you don't.
Yeah, I agree. So if you don't give it the fuel, it's gonna die, and if you, then you'll crash. Do you think there's a chance that maybe, like some people once upon a time found some crazy technology in the ground and they might have resurrected it maybe a little bit, or maybe they like they might not know how to build it again per se, but they know how to operate it now because they've had it for so long. Like imagine if you found a PlayStation 4, if you'd never played it before, but like you just found one. You don't even know what a PlayStation is, right? Like you could play that, you could eventually figure out how to work it, but you wouldn't know how to build one, right? What do you think about that kind of thing happening on the Earth?
You're thinking about planes. They have some technology that
I'm just saying, like, where do you think we came up with the idea for planes?
What was interesting in that video when I watched that one video was they were testing one of the a jet engine, and there was no fuel there. All it was forced air. I thought that was kind of interesting, and it sounded exactly like a jet starting.
but how do you force the air?
There's the technology. You have to watch the video. It's quite interesting. I'm not mechanically inclined, so I don't know how logical it is. But just reading the comments, like I say, I don't know enough about it, so I can't make a judgment call
Well,
either.
I think everybody should watch the Bob Lazar special right now on Netflix if you haven't. But yeah,
What is it?
it's about a guy who he claims he worked on some technology that he it wasn't supposed to announce to the world, but he did. So he totally messed up, but nonetheless, he said that there's these flying saucers, basically, kind of thing that he worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Most people in the world would probably be like, "Oh, it's aliens." And maybe him, but being that he said some of those discs might have been archaeological finds, it's like, oh well. See, that fits my theory, which is, oh yeah, these are all pre-flood artifacts. Like the pre-flood world totally had crazy amounts of stuff that we can't even imagine. Maybe still. Like, why are you a witch? Why are we burning you at the stake? Is it because you have a magic mirror? What is a magic mirror? I mean, your cell phone right now is totally a magic mirror. Is it not?
They call it a black scryer.
Whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's just maybe they did have it once upon a time. I don't know.
Well, I read just a blog online is done written by a scientist, and I mean I know that you're going to debunk this, Albert, but what he said
Well, how do you know?
because I just know what he said. He's quite high up there. I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but he said,
Okay, just tell me what he said.
he just said that for himself, when he started getting into the scientific aspect of things, that he would get what do you call it? He said he had help from the spirit world. That's what he said.
Okay, but like again, like okay, he could say that, but like I don't know what that means.
I don't really understand it. He just said he knew that it wasn't his own thoughts. He knew that he wasn't coming up with this. And I mean,
Okay. Well, okay. I could see ways where it might not be your own thoughts and you don't know where they're coming from. Like that, there's totally technology that can do that. 100%. There's technology, I don't know if you know, but there's technology a long time now that like you could be walking by a building and it could be like whispering that you'll be like, did somebody just say something? You'd be like, no, that's the building whispering at you.
they
Actually,
actually have that in New York. I can't remember where it's at.
maybe Matthew can tell us.
Huh? What?
Well, New York. Matthew is in New York, so maybe he knows where this place is. Where the sound technology.
I know it's in Manhattan, which I don't. I'm on Long Island, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people have, they call it targeted, right? And what is it? Something to skull. I can't remember what they call it.
Yeah, I believe that it's called ELFs, extra low frequency.
I don't know.
They could actually
Watch out for the elves.
they could microwave you if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And then when you ask later, what's an elf? They'll be like, oh, it's a little dude, right? He's kind of like similar to a gnome, but he's like an elf. He's got pointed ears. Why has he got pointed ears? I don't know. Why all these things? Like, where do we get all this stuff from?
It's like military weaponry that they can use
Yeah.
against.
But apparently I mean, it's kind of like all of these secret, I don't even know what you call them, military projects, you know. What was that one where they were all, and that was all through Canada and the United States too, where they were programming all these people, and they got caught doing it and said, oh, we won't do it again. But they figured there was over 100,000 people they were doing it to. What's it called?
Program to what?
Um, my brain is on hold, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm getting
Not
tired.
like Heaven's Gate, like no, not that.
Well, I mean, we know that they can program people to kill. What's it called?
Oh, the Manchurian Candidate.
Yes. Okay, but it wasn't Manchurian. It was different. But they got caught doing it, right? You can actually download all this stuff off of whitehouse.gov.
Oh, really? Right off of the whitehouse.gov, huh?
Yeah.
How do you guys think those California fires started? No one can explain how they're so sporadic and not.
I started them with my eyeballs. I was
would say the
feeling it.
laser.
No,
Kind of laser. Oh, you thought they were started naturally, Albert? I'm surprised.
no, I started them with my own eyeballs. I laser beamed them myself.
How do you think?
I was just kidding. I was being facetious. I was being my
Matthew,
bad.
how do you think?
It's a HARP technology. They're able to laser beam and light anything on fire.
Yeah.
I just love how every time that there's a forest fire, it's always California. I love how it's like not normally like anywhere else, you know?
Well, California is supposedly being bought up by China. So in
A
order,
lot of those people weren't allowed to move, not even allowed to move back to their property, right?
yeah, exactly. So they're trying to clear the land.
Yes.
A lot of America land is being given to debtor countries that we owe to, and the people don't know it.
But what about? I mean, if you read what's his name's book there, and they call it GeoCities, that they're trying to get everybody into the cities so they can control the people better, right?
Yeah, I think that's a plan. That's
Yeah.
definitely going on.
Yeah. You look at British Columbia here. I mean, we had fires 3 years in a row, like nobody's business. I mean, half our province was evacuated to another city. I mean, it's ridiculous. Never a city though, just the small towns.
Hmm.
You know, this year, nothing. We've got no fires. All we've had is straight cloud and rain.
Yeah, and they're pushing this trend for micro homes and small living, Japanese style cubicle type homes.
Just like rats.
And people think it's cool, young kids think it's cool. Minimalists.
Hmm. Well, I kind of take the stance on minimalism, but more in the sense of not loving materialism, if that makes any sense.
Right. It doesn't mean you have to live in a shoebox.
Right. The only thing I spend too much on is clothes.
So I was just gonna ask y'all. So, our God, the one that we believe in, right?
Hmm.
Is he a God that just likes to cyclically murder people on mass scales? Or did he have a rhyme and a reason to why he killed everybody the first time and why the second time he didn't? I'm just trying to figure this out because, like, is our God a homicidal maniac or is he not? I don't think he is.
Well,
'Cause
see, I have my
I
theories
think,
with the Old Testament, but
I think what's happening right now is like all, according like, nothing like what happened back in the day is gonna happen. Like that's all done with. Like that was all on purpose.
I don't know. I have thoughts in my head, but I try not to speak out loud.
Well, speak them. Why not? Just speak them. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, come on. Like, is he
What do
really
I
trying to just kill everybody every now and then? Is he just like, you know what, you guys are getting a little bit out of hand again. I might have to just slice
I
y'all
think,
back down to size. Like, I don't think he's doing that. I don't think there's any of that. Like, the only time that man ever got cut down was when he was being ridiculous, which was in the pre-flood world.
well, I think that there's a country that has a monopoly on the world right now.
Which one? Is it the United States? Please tell me it is, because I hope it is.
No, I think you guys
I
bow.
live there.
I'm sorry.
If not, it better be Canada.
I think you guys bow down to somebody. Oh, we're
I'm
just
not-
plain ass kissers, us.
Oh no, you're probably, but like, who cares? As long as we're the winners, do you really care? Like, do you not trust the United States to protect you?
Um, that's funny. We've already been to war with you guys a couple times. I think that's good enough.
Oh well,
You have a lot more people now.
that's because we were trying to figure out who gets the land.
We got it.
I think we're basically all owned by Britain. That's what I think.
That's probably the truth.
We're still a British colony, is what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what Q said. He said that the Vatican holds the spirituality of the world, the Americans are the police of the world, and all the money in the banks are from London.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Trinity, yo. You.
And all three places are sovereign nations. Washington, D.C. is not part of the United States.
And the Vatican.
The Vatican and London, the Crown.
Right, London. I never put those together like that, but you're right.
Yeah, the Crown is its own sovereign country. That's the financial capital of the world. But we have its little arm in America here in the Federal Reserve in New York City.
That's where the pillars are. There's the pyramid, not the pyramids, the obelisks. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Washington D.C. obelisk,
Right.
London obelisk, and where's the other one? The third one. There's a third one.
Crown.
No, yeah, it's the Vatican. Right, exactly. Vatican makes perfect sense.
So, but that's why our laws are British. That's why the judges wear black robes. You know, is all from Britain.
That's why they're called Esquire.
Esquire, exactly. Bar, the bar stands for British Accredited Registry.
What has Israel got to do with it then?
Nothing. Exactly the point.
There's no such animal anymore.
No, the one that's popped its ugly head up there, 70 years ago.
That's
Why is it that you guys get them?
That's Great Britain. That's just a British extension, and they just put on a glove to make you not realize it's them.
I don't know.
The ones that did the whole thing to get the land, so that they could give it to a group of people, and that group of people would, show homage to the crown.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, come on. If
Same
you
thing
have
with
the holy
Saudi
people's
Arabia.
land,
Come on. It's the same thing with Saudi Arabia. It's London that got involved with the local tribe to topple. So Saudi Arabia is the same way. And they had their fingers in India. And they had their fingers in South Africa.
they sound like J.P. Morgan.
But there is it's a valid question, Lori, because it was Britain who gave the mandate for a homeland for the Jews through the Balfour Declaration, which was a letter from Rothschild.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. Full circle right there.
What the purpose is, I don't know.
Well,
the purpose obviously is world dominance, because if you can pretend to take the place of the Jews right? And you can be like, oh no, it's still relevant. It's still like y'all have to bow down to us because God is on our side. Your God
How much money
is on our side. Like we're gonna win.
is being funneled into it?
Oh dear! Don't worry about how much.
Where does the money go to? I think it actually goes back to the crown.
Probably. It all goes back to the crown. The crown, the
But
crown
how can you
where
prove
they
this? I
set-
need you guys to prove this to me. I can't just, you know what I mean?
Well, you look at how it got started, and then you look to see if the people that helped them, if there was any type of revolt afterwards where they broke away. And if you don't see that, then you would imagine that the people that were helped are still loyal to the people who helped them.
So who is the crown exactly?
Good question. East India Trading Company. I don't know. It's a good question. Who actually is the real power? Some would say Rothschilds. Some would say Rockefellers.
What was
But ultimately, I think the real people would want to not. You don't even know.
what was the name of the Windsor family before they changed it to a more English name?
Oh, that's a good one.
Nazis.
Where it was Windsor. Oh gosh, that's like a
Wasn't it,
World of Warcraft question.
weren't they Nazis?
They were Germans. Yeah.
I know she's married to one.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, type it into Google. Find out.
She's German herself, and they changed the name of Windsor. I mean, it wasn't Windsor before.
No,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
But if
Pretty
you
sure
look
it's
at,
a German name.
like, how they say follow the money, right? So now if you follow what's going on, they created a Christian, in quotes, Christian nation. Then they foisted dispensationalism on the Christians so that Christians would support Israel for prophecy's sake or for God's sake. So that's got to be a big clue. And America does nothing without the, okay of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
We send $3 billion to them every year, I think.
More than that.
Reason I don't know. They're supposedly our only ally in the Middle East. So what's going on? I don't know. They were mandated by the British.
I smell a scam.
There's got to be something about the Holy Land that these elites want.
Yeah, our government completely supports Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait.
That's because you guys own them now.
So the idea that, that's just a lie, that they put that we only have one ally in the Middle East.
Right. How about this theory? The people who are in control, their biggest moneymaker has got to be oil.
Wrong.
Or energy.
Wrong.
Well, if it's not the biggest, it's a big one.
Yes, it is.
No, but think about this. If we're being duped into supporting Israel, then all of Israel's enemies, through terrorism or fake terrorism, I should say, become our enemies. And most of their enemies are chock full of oil.
That's awfully convenient, isn't it?
Why do we need oil and why do we need friends? We're the United States. We don't need friends, right? I'm just kidding. No, but why would we make friends with the people who are trying to blow all of our stuff up?
There's always two stories.
What's Israel doing for us? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know.
There's always two stories. There's the story that you tell the public, and then there's the real story.
Yeah. And it's
I agree with that.
But then here's the other thing.
The point in the whole thing, though, what is the end?
The central bank that was set up here in 1913 is probably owned by the people from Britain.
No doubt. Why would it be?
That means think about every person in America who pays income tax and how much
About how stupid they are. Yeah, I
Funny
agree.
thing is that the investors are kept undisclosed.
Oh
so
no, but
all
see, like,
your income tax,
that's the
almost
beauty of the
all of
whole plan. That's
your
what makes the plan great.
your income tax, if it doesn't go to pay for a war, goes directly to the pockets of the owners of the Federal Reserve,
That's correct.
who are a foreign nation to America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's the
It's
it's
the ultimate.
I mean, who owns the Federal Reserve? Who started that?
No, who started? No, we were warned about this. Ready for this? People in 1700 warned us about this.
Yeah, I know. So it's
And we
five
still
brothers that started
just
that.
doesn't do it. We're just like, you know what, guys, go ahead, take over. You want to control everything? Like, go ahead, do it.
It's
Talk
not
yourself
just
down.
it's not
America thought they were going to win their independence, and maybe for a brief.
Start that over, Stacy. What did you say?
I said that America in the Revolutionary War were thinking that they could win their independence, and maybe for a brief time they thought they had it, but through subversion, they became enslaved again.
That's 100% right by the British legal system and the British banking system.
Okay, so like with
Right.
Canada, when we were supposed to gain our independence, which is
Ha!
Do you have a central bank?
pardon me?
I know you do. That's a rhetorical question. Any person, any country who has a central bank, which is most of us now,
Yeah, we have a Bank of Canada that we borrow from the Federal Reserve.
right? They're
That's
all
how you know
partnerships.
But my point is, what is the point of the crown pulling back on Canada, or just they're just getting into the shadows? Do you see what I mean?
When you
I
say
mean, we used to have the Queen on every classroom wall there was.
used to have what?
A picture of the Queen, big picture of the Queen on every classroom wall. We no longer have that. We have a globe now, but
When the tension starts to rise, because they are afraid of the populace, when the tension starts to rise, the people that are in control go deeper into the shadows.
that's what I'm saying. So is that what happened? Is that what they did? Pulled back? I mean, we still have the Queen on every freaking dollar bill we have, right?
But now you have
Only,
to
only pulling back in appearance.
That's what I mean.
Their
Yeah,
tentacles are still everywhere.
yeah.
watch out for tentacles. Rule number 1.
You have the Queen on all of your money?
We used to. Oh, not on all of it now, but most of it. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude, there's plenty of countries that have the Queen. I showed that the other day in another video, like a couple weeks ago.
Were you here, Matthew, when we were seeing all the pretty Canadian money they have?
Yeah, I put it. I showed it on the Hangout. So
Yep.
So I mean, but what does Israel actually have to do with it? Is my question.
nothing. Absolutely.
Is it to
Israel
control
is-
Christians of the world?
No,
Yes,
there
but
is no Israel.
Like I
What?
said, I think it's
No, but I'm not saying there is Israel. What I'm saying is, are they there to control the Christians in the world?
No, what that nation is it's a diversion, just like a pickpocket on the street will say, "Hey, look over there," as his other hand is reaching into your pockets.
But you think about this. Do you know how many Christians support Israel because they believe that they're God's people?
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I would bet you 3 out of 10 people support Israel in a church today.
I bet you 5 out of every 10.
I would say it's 7 out of 10.
No, you're
Oh
bullish.
yeah, that's what I meant. 7 out of 10.
Even in the churches that are partial preterist, that believe that Israel was completely destroyed in 70 AD, and most of those scriptures don't refer to the future. Even though the church itself, that denomination believes that, the individuals in the church are always talking about Israel and what's going on with Israel today.
So that was my point. I said to who was I talking to? I was talking to my niece the other day, and I said, she said something about going to church, and I said, you know what? I would love to find a church, but it's very difficult to sit in a church when all they talk about is pro-Israel this, pro-Israel that, and now that I'm least partial preterist, it's very difficult to sit there. I mean, I remember what they used to talk about, and everything that's coming. Oh, you got to prepare. You got to prepare. Christ is coming soon, Christ is coming soon. How do you sit there?
No, I couldn't.
How do you sit there and not almost get sucked back into it? I'm not sure.
It's difficult. If you think it's difficult for a partial preterist, come over to the dark side, be a preterist, and
I don't think there's much difference in the way you're treated by a dispensationalist. I'm sorry, because I don't think
we're both heretics.
Yeah. So how do you go and sit in a church, when all they talk about Christ is coming back any day now?
Our church doesn't really talk about that. I mean, when they do recite the creeds, which I hate, they'll recite, he will come again, and I don't believe in that way. He'll come again in a different way, but not the way you're thinking of riding on a cloud type thing.
Yeah.
I just try to look at the wording that they use, which they kind of got from the Bible, but they misinterpret it. And I try to just use the interpretation that I have for that phraseology. But usually it's the churches that I've gone to, when people say, well, Israel is this and that, and the pastors will quickly correct the individuals in the Bible study saying things like that and say, no, Israel is the church now. I mean, the church, you know what I mean? The Israel in the Bible about the restored Israel and everything is the church. That's God's people now. It has nothing to do with that plot of land over there. And the Lutherans and the Presbyterians are good at doing that. The Baptists are pretty dispensationalist. So.
Yeah, I suppose if you don't. Yeah. I think I should go back to church a little bit, but only to meet people. That's the only
First
problem.
off, you don't gotta go to church to get to know your God. By the way,
that's right. She knows that, but you've got a good opportunity because you're not sort of bound by a group of people that love you, where you meet every Sunday. Right now, you can go to all these different churches.
Yeah.
See, if I miss Sunday morning, I'm going to be sorely missed now. So I'm in a body of people that love me. I love them, type thing. Even though we don't see eye to eye on certain things, we do see eye to eye on what it means to minister, and things like that. Yeah. But if you don't have that, where you're expected to be there on that time on Sunday morning or Saturday morning, then you have the opportunity to go to all these different churches and just preview the whole thing. That's pretty cool. I'd take advantage of that if I were you.
Yeah. It just sucks going to church by yourself all the time, right?
Why do you have to go to church?
What? Well, just to meet people.
This is your church. I mean, you can meet people here. You can meet people there too.
Nice to see the odd human being. Somewhat. Sometimes.
Yeah, I see a gigantic hole for Lucifer. I see 2 people, 2 bodies of water, and a duck.
What? Oh.
Don't restrict yourself. That's all I'm saying.
You don't go to church, Albert?
No, I don't go to church at all. The only church I go to is meeting with you fine folks 3 times a week. That's my church.
I was like that 4 years ago. I stayed away from
sure it's not required. Like if God was going to be like, you know what, if you don't go into my building and you don't
but it does say book, right, the building is not the church, but it does say in Hebrew.
That's what fakers like to make it out to be. But it's like, that's not how it is at all. Like, I'm not like, oh, you believe in God. It's like, no, I'm not required to do this, that, or the other thing. Like, no.
The Bible says, forsake not the assembling of yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, every time we meet, that's church. That's our real church for me.
Well, I would like to meet some people. The problem is I'm pretty shy when I'm out and about by myself.
You're allowed to be.
Hmm?
You're totally allowed to be shy. Like there's no rule that
No, I
says like,
know, but
thou
it's
shalt not be shy. Like thou
the
must mingle.
reason I would go to church is to meet people, right? You know, but especially when you're a single woman, it's cool. It's totally different.
Don't you live near your children, or did they move all the way?
They all moved away,
Oh.
except for one. But
Will that one go to church with you?
well, if he was in the country long enough, he might.
I see.
He's off to the Philippines right now, off to work. The other one might move back. He's got maybe got a job at the city here.
What's he doing in the Philippines?
He does NDT, so
What is that?
non-destructive testing.
Okay. In the
So
Philippines?
yeah, I know. They're paying him, him and another guy, $1,000 to travel there, $1,000 back. It's first class all the way. Got him a beach house, all expenses paid for 2 weeks, and that's it. Just 2 weeks.
Now, what's the equivalent of the CIA in Canada?
Oh, you know what? I knew what that was, but I don't remember what it is now.
Because that sounds like they're agents.
Sounds like they're still CIA.
So yeah.
I was in the Philippines a year and a half ago.
Did you like it?
Isn't that where your significant other is from?
Yes, she was born and raised there. She moved here, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Is that how you got there from her being a native, or did you get another way in?
I mean, anybody can go with passport, but she wanted to just visit her family, which that she hadn't done. She hadn't seen them since she moved here. She came here by herself.
That's so brave.
Yeah, she's gutsy. Oh. It was eye-opening, you know. I expected when we got to the resorts, I expected it to be just resorts, but even on the way to the resorts, which are all blocked off, you have to go through the shanties, and there's just poor people everywhere.
Hmm. Is prostitution really high over there as well?
I mean, I think so.
Abductions and ransoms are, isn't it? Or is that Thailand?
Yeah, no, you can if you she warned me if we didn't go to the right places, they would be, they would be looking at me as the guy with the money.
Yeah.
But the people who are not in gangs or things like that, the working class people, they are the most honest, sweetest, most cordial, nicest people I've ever met.
Hmm.
You can't tip them twice by mistake. We did that once, and they said, "Oh no, you tipped already."
Yeah.
And they're
Like
they're
Canadians, we're really polite.
they're the cleanest too. I was friends with an Air Force sergeant when I was on a joint mission, and he had a Filipino wife, and he's the one that taught me the term "mari num num," which I like. But he also said that the they have a phrase that the Philippine women are very very clean because after they use the restroom they wash their flour every time. In other words, they don't just wipe, they wash. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Even in the hotel that we stayed, had a wall mounted bidet sprayer.
Yeah.
My two kids are two of my kids, I should say, are traveling right now. My oldest guy is in Italy, and my middle guy is in Mexico.
Are both vacations or
Vacations.
okay?
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to be in Mexico right now. It's gonna be pretty humid.
he's loving it.
Yeah, mine just got back. Well, he got back day before yesterday
From
at midnight. Yeah, he was did London, Italy, Greece.
oh wow, my oldest is almost there to becoming a dual citizen to Italy.
Oh, that's what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess he wanted to. He's been there before.
You're gonna let him go? If he's like, yo, peace, I'm out. I'm trying, because I have a friend, he's trying to leave. He's like, you know what? I don't like America. I'm going to Hungary.
No, he only wants to move there for a couple of years and possibly go to school. Once you're a citizen there, you go to school for free.
Okay, well, I see. He's trying to play the system.
So his girlfriend, who he will eventually marry, she's also Italian. She already has acquired all the documents needed. So she's almost a dual citizen there to Italy. So they want to do this together. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, actually, right?
Can you only have dual citizenship? You can't have like tri-citizenship or anything?
Yes,
Um,
you can.
I
You
guess it
can.
depends on how many nationalities you are.
Yeah, you can totally have like citizenship in like every country if you really want to, but like only if you're approved.
Well, he had to prove that his ancestors are, in fact, Italian. He had to get numerous
Right.
birth, death, and marriage certificates from various.
See, like, so yeah, some countries might be like that, and they'd be like, no, we're not going to allow you to have that status unless you can prove it.
It's very difficult to get a Canadian citizenship.
Aren't there some countries that make you renounce other citizenships?
Yes, there is. I do not know if you can any longer get a dual citizenship like Canadian and otherwise. I think they wanted to put a stop to that a few years ago, but I don't know if they actually did or not. What's funny is you guys are hard to immigrate to.
It's time for you to get a watch. Right?
You guys are hard to immigrate to, but it's very easy to sneak into your country and just hang out.
I would love to come to Canada. Then I can hunt the Sasquatch.
I like Canada.
If you know me, I love Sasquatch, by the way. I believe it's a real creature. I just believe that it's an ape. That's all.
You believe
God
in
created it.
you
It's
believe in the
just
Loch Ness
another...
monster too?
The Loch Ness Monster? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, no, the Loch Ness Monster is bull. That's baloney.
How do you know?
There's no Loch Ness Monster.
You don't know that. What
Yeah,
about
I gotta get to sleep too, guys.
what?
I gotta get to sleep too. Stacy just signed off. I gotta get to sleep myself. I gotta get up early.
We can take that as a cue.
I gotta work in the morning.
Okay.
Okay. Good
Night,
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 Rob.
y'all.
Thanks for putting in your 2 bits,
Yeah,
Rob.
thanks, Rob. Thanks for coming, Rob. Thanks.
Night.
Night, night, y'all. Night, night, Rob. Wow, even Rob left. Wow, that's crazy. He was paying attention. Good night, night, y'all. Just remember, there is no Satan.
But if you did make it this far, for some reason, I don't know why you even stayed on this long, but if you did, you can listen to this, and all I want you to know is that you should pay attention to your surroundings. Wise Up channel, very good, except like don't always listen to everything he says, because sometimes he can be wrong. But that kitty.